This is not really an update on the current story under Susana Morales. This is more like extra information on that story. For those of you that don't know, a 16-year-old out of Gwinnett County, that's in Georgia, towards the end of July 2022, she had went missing while texting her mother on the way home. Remains were found by a passerby that would later determine through DNA that the remains was Susana Morales's. A police officer out of Doraville was arrested in connection of her death, concealing a death, and filing false reporting. There is a new accuser that has known Bryant for years, a woman from Snellville, Georgia. She says she was actually stalked by the same police officer. 21-year-old Alicia Bates, quote, "I've known him since 5th grade. We grew up together," end quote. They had got in contact with one another, and she said she hung out with him once. He began after that showing up at her apartment anytime, uninvited. He would call all the time and asked where she was. And he would just say that he was checking on her. He would put his ear to the door when she wasn't there or when he thought that she may have been there, just to listen in and see if she was at home. She's the manager of a fast food restaurant, so she works long hours and she gets off very late sometimes. A little bit after 12, she had came home just to find that her front door had been kicked in. Around that time, she actually thought that it may have been another male person that she'd been dealing with that was doing peculiar things. Stalking her is what actually was reported, but a neighbor had witnessed that it was the police officer, Miles Bryant, that was the perpetrator. Bates' neighbor had a Ring security video, and she had showed it to her, and it was actually Bryant, and he was twisting her doorknob. He allegedly actually had broken in once when she wasn't home. Bryant had become so alarmingly aggressive. She had feared for her life, and she not only reported Bryant, who was still a police officer then, but she actually went out and brought a gun for her safety. In late December, her and her boyfriend was hiding in her apartment, both armed and waiting for him to show up. So they were going to let him have it. Showing the Ring doorbell to the police department that he was employed at, Doraville launched an administrative investigation, and Bates said that it stopped. The police officer, Miles, he said he didn't mean any harm by what he was doing. Kind of acted like he was not only a police officer, but a longtime friend, just checking in on his woman, but he had very stalkerish behaviors. She said, quote, "I couldn't believe that I've known him since 5th grade. He's been to my place. We went to the movies with his girlfriend. I couldn't believe that I could have been the next target." The 16-year-old that went missing and later turned up dead, her family believes that she did not know Miles Bryant. Out of my own thinking and me sitting here just reading different things about the story, and she's 16. Susana was 16 years old. Very pretty young girl, just walking home. She probably didn't know that Miles probably was watching her more than once and pretty much knew where she lived and where she was going, because in my other video I did state that he lived not too far from her. So she might not have known. I mean, she sees a police car going by. If in fact he was even in his police car that day, but maybe when he did befriend her, now I'm just speculating. Everything in my video is alleged, and just the opinions of just me. So I'm speculating that when he was in his car in uniform and approached her, he looks young. He is young. He's 22. They may have talked, and she continued on with her day. And that's how quickly he built up this obsession, maybe even offering her a ride that day, because she was just pretty much a few minutes from home when her phone went silent and it stopped pinging in the area that she was supposed to be. She was not headed home anymore. So it's believed that she may have been picked up at the time. So maybe this officer, Bryant, well, we know now he has stalkerish behaviors. And the other young woman, Alicia Bates, yes, she could have very well have been the next victim or the victim before Susana. So my question is, I wonder if more young women are going to come out about his behavior, because it seemed like he was really using, and some cops do, using their badge as a way to break the law or feel like they are above the law, or maybe even intimidate some people. And at 16, you may get very intimidated, or maybe his aggressive behavior had made 16-year-old Susana feel like maybe this was a cop, but he wasn't acting like the cops that she had in her mind. Again, I'm just speculating, but the young woman is not here. And like the family has said, unfortunately, they have to go on what Miles Bryant is saying. And he has lied now for months and covered up situations. So he may not be the best person, but he's the only person. Justice for Susana Morales.